It's probably Caesar. I try not to be known as the hype man. I just kind of, bring a certain energy about myself. So I'll give that to Caesar for sure. I mean, you obviously seen him in games. I've got questions from literally like pro scouts who's watching our film. Like, who's the dude with the towel? I'm like, that's Juice Crew, man. That's Caesar right there. So uh, I'll give him that title.
All right, Coach, appreciate it. Have a good week, okay?
Thank you.
Ryan Aber of the Oklahoman, and then Joe Bettner.
Yeah, Roy, just want to ask you about your young guys. How those newcomers, how have they been progressing in the spring? What stands out to you about those guys, and just how do you feel about the way that they're coming along?
That would cover everybody, in my room, because again, missing spring, last year. You think about a guy maybe like Josh Eaton, for example, came in last year, but missed spring. You know what I mean? And so, how much football did he actually play in 2020 as opposed to a guy like Latrell McCutcheon who comes in now that played a whole football season as a high school player? So all of those guys are kind of, in that young guy category, in my opinion. But they're doing well. I think that the thing you realize is, you can recruit these elite athletes and whatever those rankings are, 4 stars, 5 stars. And the reality is they walk in and they all need development. And I don't think that's something specific to Oklahoma. Look around the country, you don't just go from elite high school player to elite college player. There's a progression. So all of those guys are kind of in that same boat of just having to build on the foundation, you know what I mean, that they're for most of them are really starting now in this spring. So the thing, my biggest goal just for that group is just consistency. If I got one thing that's like in the back of my mind, do we look the same? Do we handle adversity the same way? Do we show a level of physicality the same way? Just not here and there and this guy has a good day. This guy, I want the group to all be pushing and trending, with some momentum as this spring goes, and obviously carry us into the summer and the season. So,
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Joe Bettner, Norman Transcript, and then Jason Kersey.
I just want to ask about Woody Washington after the season that he had. I'm curious how he's responded so far through spring, and if you just your own perspective, what's the ceiling for a guy like that after just kind of the way he played as a young guy and kind of stepping into an older role now?
Yeah, and that's the credit to him, moving positions a little bit early in his career and kind of, seemingly found a home, it feels like, at corner last year and really did some good things. And again, he's been kind of nicked up, so hasn't practiced a ton this spring, which again, all those guys, you look at them a little bit, okay, he's been around a little bit, but he's still in that category. He needs those reps just like everybody else. But, the good thing for Woody, he's a very mature guy on the field, off the field. He's one of those guys that wants to be coached hard, like literally, coach me hard, coach, don't hold back anything. Like, I need it. When you got guys that kind of approach their careers that way and understand it, coach is there to motivate, to inspire, to enhance it. It makes my job a little bit easier. So excited about Woody, though. And again, what's on the horizon for him.
Thank you.
Jason Kersey with The Athletic, and then Mason Young.
Sorry, Roy, I wanted to ask you about Damon Harmon being a guy who isn't with you right now, but is playing a season this spring. How strange is that to have one of your guys that will be here this summer playing a season? How much are you able to keep track of that? Do you think that will help him in any way?
Yeah, I hope it does. Obviously he plays at a really good high school program, so they're used to playing a little longer. But I mean, right now it's April, and they're still. I think they're going to be in the semis next week, and so it's definitely weird to still be calling him, "Hey, how'd you do this game?" and things like that. But Damon's a football guy. I know he enjoys playing ball, and so again, hopefully when he gets here, he doesn't miss a beat, and that transition I kind of think of it like the CFL guys into the NFL. You finish your season and you just go right into a training camp, and so hopefully that kind of springboards him to getting caught up really fast and kind of emerging with the defense. So.
Is he a guy that can help you next year, do you think?
Yeah, and here's the deal, and I'm being quite honest with you. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be here. If we didn't see enough in those guys, whether they come in at the mid-year or if they're summer start guys, that hey, can he be better than maybe what you have, or can he crack the lineup in some way, shape, or form and help you? We don't recruit him, and so again, I'm excited about his upside, and like you kind of mentioned. Most of the class is here, so we're just kind of itching to finally get him here and see what he's working with and see where can he fit in best to help this football team.
Thanks so much, Roy.
Yep, thank you.
Mason Young with OU Daily, and then John Hoover.
Yeah, Roy, I wanted to ask you about Justin Harrington. Alex had mentioned that he was doing some work at corner for you guys. Just your impressions of how he's handling coming back from that injury and what he's looked like so far this spring.
Yeah, Justin, obviously just really talented dude and kind of gifted and blessed with, obviously size and speed and some of those things. This is, again, a little new for him too. You know what I mean? Obviously missing last year. Not a freshman, has experience playing, but again, doesn't have the experience of, getting coached here and, you know what I mean? Just dealing with the ins and outs of practice every day. And that's what he's getting right now. So he's figuring it out, you know what I mean? And working through it. Obviously there's always a process for anybody that has a long-term injury or a season-ending injury, that they have to, build that confidence back up just in their movements, just in their ability to do what they did before, or even better, and so that's what this spring ball for him is. It's a little bit of me as the coach and having experience of knowing, his position, his maturation is going to be a little more unique than a guy that isn't coming off a surgery like he had, and thankfully, obviously he has no setbacks. He moved around great this off season and is moving around what I probably would expect, through 7, 8, 9 practices now. And I know that he's just going to continue to do this as the summer goes on, continues to condition and train, and and really should be hitting the ground running at his best by the time we get to training camp. So he's done a good job though, just again, taking it in and playing corner and doing what we're asking of him. So
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Hey, John Hoover, SI Sooners, and then James Hale.
Hey, Roy, I want to ask you about DJ Graham. It seemed like there were times last year that he might have looked like the most gifted cornerback on the team. It was a handful of times because he was so young. His progression last year, was it slow? Was it sudden? Because there were times where he just jumped up literally out of nowhere. Or was it pretty normal for you? And what have you seen since last season, this spring?
Yeah, I mean, nothing about last year was normal. Those guys, again, I can't even imagine being a incoming freshman and you're going through a pandemic and, not having a spring ball. He was an early guy, but, I think we got one practice in before we shut down. And then, your first few games of the season, are K-State and Iowa State, and just some more challenging, so to speak, offenses to prepare for if you've never been out there in the game. And so it was probably just a new experience for me, dealing with all those different elements, trying to be aware of them, but also they're not an excuse, And as that season went on, I feel like DJ got more and more comfortable with what was being asked. He got more and more comfortable. Again, these guys were coming out of high school and all of a sudden you're thrust into a football game. And so he did mature as the season went on. He did get a lot better as the season went on, and yet he's miles away still, right? Because again, that experience of playing is just invaluable. And so, this spring, and obviously we know DJ's a talented guy. This spring is huge for him. It's huge because he missed a spring. He missed some of those moments. And I think not just him, but all those freshman guys, they couldn't understand what the urgency level of a football season means. And so I think they all, had to come on. Like, this isn't high school anymore. And so a credit to them for battling through it. But we have high expectations because, again, I think he played almost 200 snaps last year on defense. So high expectations. And again, still have to just continue to go up in his development and his maturity as much as anything. So,
Roy, thank you.
no, thank you.
To James Hale, the KREF, and then Kerry Murdoch.
Roy, great to see you, man. Keep putting out the videos. Those things are fun, and on Twitter. So keep rocking and rolling, man.
Yes, sir.
Roy, it's obvious, or it's not obvious, but it looks like you're trying to recruit a taller, lankier athlete to play at the cornerback spot. Harrington's one of those guys you talked about earlier, but Ellison's tall. You got some taller guys coming in the trail 6'1". How does that look out there right now as you see the guys? You still have Jaden, who's 5'10", and Woody and DJ, or maybe they're 6 foot, maybe, but you're beginning to get some taller guys. How does that look? And when you look at Harrington, do you feel like that he's always going to be a corner? Could he be a nickel someday, or do you feel like his future is really at corner?
Yeah, well, the first part of it, obviously, again, this is Oklahoma, and so you should be able to go out and not have to compromise in recruiting. You know what I mean?
Right.
You should be able to get, in my mind, the total package of what you want. And again, that doesn't always entail the size part of it or length. Again, every corner in the NFL isn't 6'1", but you know what I mean? We understand, as I use the basketball analogy, there ain't a whole lot of 5'9" centers in the NBA, or 6'2" or 6'3", power forwards in the NBA. Why? Because you shouldn't have to compromise. There is an advantage, based on the position specific, assignment that you have to do. And obviously, we were deficient in that area, and we've addressed some of those needs. But, the big message is, if you are a longer guy, if you are a taller guy, right, you can't just rely on that, because you still have your issues, right, that you're gonna face. And on the other side of that, if you're what you would consider a smaller corner or DB, whatever it is, you still have your pluses and minuses to being that. The great, obviously, common denominator is, no matter what, you have to play with great effort. No matter what, you have to play with great technique. You know what I mean? No matter what, you know what I mean? You got to be willing to battle in there and trust what you're being coached, and become the best version of whatever you are, and I think that's the biggest message, because the expectation isn't, well, you're a 5'9" guy, here's the set of plays that you should or shouldn't make. No, you're playing corner, University of Oklahoma, here's the expectation. Same
Right.
thing for, the longer guys, or so to speak. So, and the thing we do, we watch those corners around the country. I try to, show these guys, different guys in the NFL, and show them different examples that, you know what I mean? Don't tell yourself, box yourself in. The expectation is always for the position and getting the job done. And so, and then with Justin, we do believe that he can play corner. Otherwise, we wouldn't, waste time there, putting him there if we didn't believe in his skill set being transferable. And obviously, again, I always say that's the mark of great coaching. Like I'm a great coach when my players are doing the thing that they're the best at. You know what I mean? And so that's what this spring is for. And we obviously try to recruit where we can move guys as well, where guys aren't pegged into, he's just a corner. No, he has speed and maybe length or whatever it is that you can play safety, or you can play nickel or corner in our system. And so that as much as is part of the recruiting kind of philosophy, as much as anything, not just looking the part, but, I can move around, all right, and not have any deficiencies from corner to nickel to safety. So that's probably what's most important in that.
Roy, thank you. Appreciate it.
No, I
man.
appreciate it.
Sorry, I have time for just one more question for Coach Manning. Kerry Murdoch.
Hey, Roy, good to see you. I'm curious, with Latrell being a guy that was, kind of had fame at a young age on the Friday Night Tyke show, is there anything about his personality that, you feel like maybe he took from that, being a guy that's kind of been known most of his life as an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, the trail's a dude. You know, that's the cool thing about, you know, as you recruit a kid, you obviously have a really close relationship with them, and you get to figure out like, all right, we're good on the football part. Like who are you as a person? Like how are you wired? And you know, I mean, that's one of the things that just stands out to me about Latrell is just he's really wired the right way in terms of mature. You know what I mean? Not an immature kid at all. Not one of those guys you gotta worried about what they're doing in their downtime and things like that. I mean, he's very very dialed in to the main thing. You know, if it's books, it's books. If it's ball, it's ball. But, and those are some of the things I think do definitely translate onto the football field. Now, again, like anyone, every one of them need development, but man, it's sure a lot easier to kind of work through clutter in a guy's life. There's not so much distractions and immaturity, so to speak, and so that is one of the things I think greatly benefits him as he got here early and working himself right into the rotation there. So.